Welcome to TheoTrade. This is Don Kaufman. Here we are. It's May 9th, 2017, doing the Theo Night video. First and foremost, what do we see today? Once again, the Nasdaq charging to the upside. What you're looking at here happens to be none other than a 2-day, 2-minute. And again, the Nasdaq exploding higher off of today's open specifically and kind of fading a bit towards the close, maybe getting a little bit of a bid over here, but the Nasdaq ultimately, again, exploding higher. Now, moving along, Apple. You start looking at Apple and a handful of other major technology stocks, and you have to ask, is there anything that anyone is buying other than tech right now? I think we could probably point to maybe emerging markets, okay? But generally speaking, this move and this latest move here, it's all about technology. And the irony of that is it's only about a handful of companies within technology. And again, we can obviously point the finger to the single largest market cap out there, hitting $800 billion market cap in an absolutely parabolic move since its recent earnings announcement. But Apple exploding off the 46 level, now trading again. There's the closing bell, now trading up to almost the 55 handle today, okay, and actually fading a bit from it. Anyway, the point I want to make with this is if you're looking at markets and you're looking for some sign of like, oh, this thing's getting a little bit frothy over here, I'm getting a little nervous as a retail client. Now, make no two ways about it. I myself, Don, I've been bearish for quite some time over here, but you would be remiss not to point out weakness in a number of key areas, right? However, you have got technology and these large market cap stocks where, for the most part, capital is just being thrown caution to the wind right now. Again, Apple, obviously the pinnacle of this, but Amazon, not far behind, although Amazon is nothing in comparison to the explosion up in Apple. We could also point out to the recent March inside of Netflix, also kind of a parabolic move. Right? Facebook was following suit until ultimately reversing earlier in the day, but Facebook actually seeing almost a 153 print before reversing on the day. Google not necessarily participating a tremendous amount today, and that's exactly what I'm trying to point out. Are we running out of steam to the upside inside of the Nasdaq? And again, this might just be short duration, but looking at the Nasdaq Futures, again, this defines the parabolic move that we're kind of talking about. Now, we'll reverse gears a little bit. Where happens to be some of the weakness? So we realize that throw caution to the wind, and ultimately you've got fund managers and or traders. And when I say throwing caution to the wind, they're throwing capital and rotating capital into technology. And it's kind of the school of what's working right now. And if you look at the underlyings out there and specifically start to look at like advanced decline lines, I mean, here's a day where if you look at the S&P 100, there's 64 decliners at the close. The S&P's finished largely unchanged, but it's okay. The Nasdaq is up, but you have to realize the Nasdaq is influenced drastically. It's all about market cap. So between Apple and Amazon and Netflix and Google, and Tesla's also in there as well, as it's been gaining some market cap recently, okay? These are influence, obviously, the Nasdaq futures. However, at the exact same time, there's this bifurcation going on. And when I say bifurcation, what do you mean? I don't know. If you looked at something like the energy sector, now the energy sector, this is not like this monstrosity huge sector like technology is, okay? Of course, in the S&P 500, nevertheless, the energy sector, okay, and his all-out sprint to the downside is down another, 0.8% today, and looks like it's going to continue to fade in the near future. In addition to it, made us very, very nervous in the last couple of trading sessions, but the XLF continues to kind of come up to this 24 level and fades very, very rapidly off of it. If you take a look at the XLF on an intraday basis, okay, here is the second largest sector out there, and arguably the financials are just as large as technology. Why is there an argument there? Because several, financial stocks, the way that the S&P 500 is broken down, there are many financial stocks that exist under the technology heading. For example, something like PayPal that might move with financials okay, happens to belong to the technology sector. Anyway, the XLF arguably, okay, failing once again today, closing down almost 0.4%. Now, we could go on. There's been a flush in a lot of the commodity products out there, from silver to gold to oil, okay? We've actually seen movement in the dollar. Not much, okay? But the dollar, once again, hugging right around the 100 mark. And here's something that we don't often discuss over here, but in the last 2 trading sessions, it's interesting to see the dollar, again, rallying back up. What's to become of that? Well, if the dollar continues that upward momentum, is it going to put more pressure forth to the commodities, taking gold down a little bit more, obviously taking oil down a bit more? Now, we'll switch gears for just a moment. So again, we're seeing this overwhelming theme of this, not only this bifurcation in markets, but you have tendency to feel like there's just not a lot of places left to put capital. And it's, again, that's the overwhelming theme right now. And everything I look at, is anything right now screaming risk? Well, we all know, this was mass media yesterday, the VIX hit its lowest level in 24 years. Okay, newsflash, the VIX was calculated completely differently 24 years ago. Okay, by the way, they even changed the calculation a number of times along the way. The most recent change to the VIX calculation, check it out. It was in October of 2014. All right, at that point, they actually added weeklies, these weeklies, okay, into the VIX calculation. So the irony of that is the volatility is probably a lot lower right now than it was 24 years ago. Neither here nor there, okay? Just because there's a low VIX, it doesn't mean anything. It means there's low volatility. And the last time I looked, low volatility, yeah, boredom can last a really long time. So again, think about this in the next couple of days as you're watching stocks like Apple, especially, okay, on an intraday basis. Are we starting to see, okay, what kind of feels like, again, a little bit of a froth in the market and possibility of that blow off top? And I'm looking for signs of that in Apple. And again, very specifically today, huge volume, stocks exploding to the upside. There's less and less stuff that's appreciating to the upside right now. But all we really need is one wild reversal day, and we'll be off to the races. The Nasdaq will obviously flip around. Again, parabolic charts. No matter how much you might love this, no matter how much you might be riding this to the upside, it doesn't last and it doesn't end well. Now, switching gears again completely on you over here, up to the plate. This will be Wednesday after the bell. Okay. Ooh, this is going to be exciting. Okay. Snapchat. Now, I maintain a very, very small position in Snapchat. I'm just short literally 100 shares of Snapchat. Why? Well, we have a little bit of an internal rule here at TheoTrade, and that is if you want to talk poorly about a stock, you actually have to carry a position in that stock. So, hence, I would like to speak ill of Snapchat. Well, it's the management team's first shot at going into, well, public conference call, okay? Being a public company, earnings, the volatility speaks volumes. The expected move is $3.15. That's a 15% move is being priced in tomorrow. Now, frankly, I'm not sure what you want to do in here. If you want to get bearish, okay, great. But these are some really juicy, expensive options. So if you're going to get bearish, use some type of a spread. And remember, Snapchat, and this is actually quite ironic, sees almost 100,000 contracts trade today. And hang on, wait for it. It still doesn't use penny increment options. Does that bother you? It should, because when you trade the individual options, you're giving up a lot in the bid offer spread. You're getting tagged big time in the way in and the way out. Use spreads to mitigate your risk. Go out there and do some type of a, I've already got a trade pulled up in here, but do something like a 24, for instance, 22 spread. Here, this is a $2 wide spread for $1. Okay. When you start moving the price around, it moves in 5-cent increments, but you can go in here and you can actually type in, you know what? I just want to pay 99 cents for it. And you could do that because it's a spread. Now, I'll delete that particular order out. That happened to be a bearish trade. If you're bullish, okay, if you're bullish, take the opposing side of it. So I say take the opposing side of it, that's okay. Be bullish on it. If you want to be able to sell some premium out there, well, you can do that too. Here's actually the sale of premium. Now, look very carefully at it. I'm selling a 23.50 call. I'm selling a 23.50 put. I'm buying a 27 call, and I'm buying a 20 put. This is known as the iron butterfly. Now, very frankly, do I love the trade? Well, listen, if you think that Snapchat is not going to move massively off of this earnings announcement, this might be the right trade for you, okay? I myself, okay, I've got skin in the game. I'm going to stick with my 100 short shares, and I'm either going to be, laughing or crying after the bell tomorrow. But that's what earnings is about. Just because there's high volatility, there's a reason for high volatility out there, and that's because this is a risky proposition coming into their first earnings announcement. Nevertheless, stay tuned. Again, eyes obviously to a handful of technology stocks that seem to be carrying the weight of the world pretty much on their shoulders over here. Any weakness inside of Apple, Amazon, Tesla, and you can pretty much say night, night, Nasdaq. Thanks for joining us here at TheoTrade. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Bye-bye.